Hello, my name's Dr. Joanna Griffin. I'm Assistant Professor at the Centre for Research in Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities at the University of Warwick, and I'm also a parent caregiver. And in this presentation, I want to talk about our project where we were working towards guidelines and a toolkit for researchers and family carers on co-production in research with family carers of people with an intellectual disability. And this project was funded by the Participatory Research Fund at the University of Warwick. So just a little bit of background to the project. Researchers at SID have been closely involved in two co-produced interventions. The Early Positive Approaches to Support, or EPATS, which is led by Nick Gore and Jill Bradshaw from the University of Kent, and Positive Family Connections, which was co-designed with family carers at the University of Warwick, and that was led by myself and Professor Richard Hastings. Now, both of these interventions were co-designed with family carers and delivered to groups of other families by trained family carers. And this project aimed to draw together the learning across these projects, as well as connecting with other similar projects that have been co-produced, such as Healthy Parent Carers and the SPACE project, which is supporting parent carers in England, led by Exeter University, as well as linking with co-production in policy and practice that have been carried out by the Challenging Behaviour Foundation. So the co-applicants for this project were myself and Richard from Warwick, Nick and Jill from Kent, and Viv Cooper, who's the Chief Executive of the Challenging Behaviour Foundation. Thanks also to Daniel Sutherland, who was a research fellow who worked on this at Warwick, and Professor Chris Morris and Belle MacDonald from the Healthy Parent Carers Project, and Gretchen Bjornstad from the SPACE project. We're really grateful to Penn Crew at the University of Exeter Medical School for enabling collaboration with the family faculty, which enabled us to get more family carers involved in this project and bringing all their expertise. And the family carers that were involved, a huge thanks to all of them: Debbie Austin, Mike Charles, Judith Divers, Kate Evans-Jones, Sharon Foxwell, Syra Minas, Ian Penfold and Gurdeep Singh. They really did bring a huge amount of experience and enthusiasm, and it was really great to work with them on this project, so thank you. So what we did was invite 8 family carers who'd been involved in one or more co-production research projects to take part. And in bold, in brackets, after each of these points, I'm saying, showing how we then included this in the guidance because it was felt to be useful for future research projects. So having a clear remit and role and being clear about what was needed to contribute to the project was helpful for family carers. We explained from the beginning what the aims of the project were and where there was scope for the exact format to change. So about being transparent, what can be changed and what can't, because sometimes there are some kind of non-negotiables in research, but it's important to be open about those. We explained that there would be several meetings online and possible further work in smaller working groups, so we were trying to be clear about the time requirement, but also being flexible to different people's needs and the level of input. We indicated that we could work where we could, we would try and work around people's time and other commitments. However, there was a tight deadline for the end of the project. So we were clear about deadlines and we were flexible in how families are supported to contribute, but there were also some deadlines that we needed to stick with. So during the process, we met 5 times online as a whole group, and there was lots of work toing and froing on documents in between. Meetings were co-chaired by myself and Viv from the CBF, and it was felt that this was useful to include in the guidance that role modelling co-production can include having chairs who have lived experience and research experience. We ensured payment for all family care input, including reading and preparing for meetings. And this was felt to be really important to be clear about the time involved and ensure appropriate and efficient payment. We also included a contingency fund to allow for additional work that we would ask family carers to get involved in, and that was really useful to have that fund available. And family carers were asked how they wanted to contribute to the project and the production of output. So we were encouraging different levels of input depending on circumstances and the particular skills that family carers brought to the project. So in terms of producing outputs, we utilised people's skills and availability, and this was something that came up about acknowledging family carers may wear lots of different hats, which can be used on projects if family carers want to. So some of the family carers on this project wrote sections of the guidance and the toolkit, whereas others wanted to kind of comment or edit things that were written or add their own quotes or experiences of how they'd been involved in different co-production projects. One of the family carers designed the material and did a great job. She really wanted to get involved in that, and that was wonderful, and we were able to pay her for her time. And one family carer recorded the videos. So what we produced and how we disseminated the information was discussed and agreed as a group. So as researchers, we needed to be flexible and be willing to be challenged about how we might imagine the project develops. It can change and it can evolve through the discussions with the family carers. And family carers were asked if they wished to be named as co-authors of project outputs, and this was really important to credit that input while respecting anonymity where requested. Now, in our meetings, it was important for us to kind of agree, what does co-production mean? And there are many definitions out there, but we didn't really feel that any of them captured what we were trying to do. So we kind of combined different ideas and came up with our own definition. And I think as this work progresses and develops, this may change slightly, but hopefully this captures the kind of gist of what we were trying to capture in the documents and what we were talking about when we were talking about co-production. So we define co-production in research as relevant stakeholders, for example, family carers, working as equal partners with researchers at the earliest stages of a project to share their lived experience. This ensures that research is shaped around real-world experience and can make a positive difference to the lives of people with a learning disability and their families, for example, through changes to services and support. So in our meetings, we also talked about different stages of research. Now, obviously, research doesn't always follow a neat linear pathway like this, but it was quite helpful to break down the different stages to think about, are there particular times when it's really useful to have co-production partners and other times perhaps less so. But in our discussions with family carers, they felt it was important for co-production input at all of these different stages. And we had quite a lot of discussion about the conception stage. So this is where you're coming up with the idea for the research. Perhaps you're working together on an application describing exactly what you're going to be doing and why. And having that input can really ensure that it's meaningful to people with that lived experience. But unfortunately, sometimes it's quite difficult to get funding for that, or funders don't always include funding for lived experience input at the conception stage. And we think that that's really important to raise with funders. So through our discussions, we came up with 7 golden rules of co-production in research, and the whole toolkit for researchers kind of hangs around this framework of the 7 golden rules, which I'll dive into a little bit more now. So golden rule number 1 was the importance of working together as peers. So working together in an equal partnership involves recognising and valuing the many different skills and perspectives that family carers and others bring. And a key way that came up in our discussions of doing this is to model it by having family carers either as permanent members of the research team or as chairs of the co-production group. And family carers also talked about their skills and the learning that they developed and wanting to be able to evidence this, for example, to use on their CV or in a certificate of some kind. And that also there are skills for the researchers and that there is learning for everybody on the team. Golden rule number 2 was to make it meaningful. So it was felt to be particularly meaningful if done at all stages of a project, and felt to be meaningful if there was a positive contribution to the wider community. So meaningful co-production values family carer input from the start to the end and beyond sometimes, and it's not just a tick box exercise. And as well as benefiting the research itself and researchers, there can be personal benefits for family carers as well for getting involved in co-production projects. People in our group talked about increased confidence, increased self-esteem, and also there being something really valuable about being able to use experience, sometimes the experience has been quite challenging in a positive way. The golden rule number 3 was about listening and keeping an open mind. A non-judgmental, sensitive and transparent approach can build positive relationships across the team, and adopting an open approach can ensure a meaningful contribution. So an open mind and transparency about what can be changed in the research, and kind of encouraging researchers and family carers to be creative and constructive with differing viewpoints. You may get lots of different views in a co-production project, but to see this as a strength and a way of kind of adding to the richness and the meaning of the research. Golden rule number 4 was about communicating clearly. So using plain and accessible language, family carers really wanted to avoid acronyms and jargon, and providing a clear remit and expectations of family and carers to ensure that you get the right people for the project, and being clear about the aim of the research and how it will contribute to improving families' lives. So it was also suggested that family carers may find it useful to have a terms of reference or a clear outline of what's expected from the research co-production project, and having goals for the research and where to go for further information. And there's a lot more information on that in the document. Golden rule number 5 was about paying appropriately. This was so important. Ensure that all family carers are suitably compensated for their time and expertise, and this would include reading time, responding to emails, and ensure this is all included in the budget. Highlighting that this can impact people's benefits and signposting where people can get further information on that, and also covering costs for replacement care costs or transport costs if meetings are held in person, and to try and keep the admin simple. Golden rule number 6 was about being sensitive. So consider the well-being of family carers who contribute their lived experience throughout the research process, because sharing on sensitive topics can bring up quite a variety of emotions, and it's important that everybody feels supported. So you can't expect family carer to kind of bare their soul in a co-production meeting and then it's just, right, thank you, goodbye. It might be worth having a checkout, seeing how people are, what extra support they may need. There is a duty of care and a sensitivity of researchers, not just mining people's lived experience, but actually supporting them to share and to grow and to feel that they're being nurtured and respected. It can help if researchers are aware of the world of special needs and disability, so they have some understanding, including that circumstances can suddenly change. So a family carer may be very involved in research, but then may have to pull out, and making sure that you've got backup, that enough family carers for that to be okay, but also to have some understanding and sensitivity when that is the case. And golden rule number 7 was about being flexible to support family carers' needs. So thinking creatively and to be prepared to work in different ways to avoid some of the barriers that family carers may face. So this might be if the family carer has their own additional needs, making sure that you're making adaptations that can help them to contribute, providing choice, for example, the time of meetings, offering some maybe in the evening, or people can attend with their cameras off if it's something online, or some people may prefer not to meet and actually do some editing of documents by email. It can be helpful to have follow-up meetings for those who miss meetings, and allowing kind of different levels of input. If co-production meetings are held online, then it's good to consider digital access. So, for example, it may be helpful if research projects can pay for extra data for family carers to access meetings on their phone, or even to loan devices out to ensure that everybody can contribute. So just thinking about some of the kind of strengths and challenges of this project that may also be helpful for co-production projects more widely. We had a very engaged, experienced and enthusiastic group of family carers, which was so valuable. They really understood what we were trying to achieve. They really bought into it and could see the benefits, and that was just so valuable. We also had open-minded supportive researchers who really embrace the ethos of co-production. So that whole kind of approach was just there and embedded right from the start. We allowed flexibility within the funding bid for the project to change and adapt. So obviously you have to outline what you're trying to do to get funding, but trying to allow a little bit of flexibility within that was really valuable, because in our meetings we didn't know what family carers were going to feel was helpful, and quite a bit of it kind of changed substantially. But so to have that flexibility was really useful. As I've mentioned before, having a contingency fund for additional hours for the family carers, additional meetings, additional reading can be really useful. And it did help to have 2 parent carers chairing and as co-applicants. And we produce flexible outputs that can continue to develop. It's not the case that this is done and dusted. I think as we connect with more family carers and more researchers and find out about other projects, I think the guidance and the outputs will continue to develop. And that's positive. Some of the challenges, time. It's very hard to find a time with busy researchers, busy family carers where everybody could meet. But what we did do was offer backup meetings and contact by email to kind of keep everybody up to speed with what was happening. And we did need additional family carers hours, and that was useful too. There was a tight time scale for the end of this project, and we have fed that back to the funder, that you need time, you need adequate time and resources to do co-production well. And one person withdrew for a while, and so it was great that we had adequate number of family carers to allow for this, and then wonderful that they rejoined towards the end. But I think you need to be prepared that things come up in people's very busy lives. And there was a slight difference between the researcher remit, which was very tightly defined, and the family carer remit, who the family carers wanted to expand the remit out, saying that this may be co-production golden rules that would be helpful for services more broadly. And I think this discussion was really helpful. It helped us to clarify what we were going to work on now, but also identifying next steps. So sometimes when there is a difference of opinion, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't see it as a problem. It helps you clarify and it helps you identify what else needs to be done. So that was really useful discussion. So the outputs from this project is a toolkit from researchers, and you can see a picture of the document here, which is available on the website, and guidance for family carers, including frequently asked questions. The family carers wanted to try and bring together information just in one place, so that family carers who are maybe interested in getting involved in co-production projects, or who already are, have somewhere they can go to kind of find out, what can I expect, what will it be like, what can I ask of the researchers, and what will it be like for me. And we did a soft launch of this and of the golden rules on social media during co-production week in July 2024, and we continue to develop the guidance and the website as we're moving forward. Next steps, we want to develop an easy read version, and as I said, continue to kind of link and add to the document and the information that's available to help other researchers and other family carers in the future. So some of the kind of key takeaways from this project: family carers and researchers working together, it brings a really vital richness to research, and there are benefits for the research itself, for researchers and family carers. Everyone can learn. It helps to have someone able to manage the pressures from both sides, if you want to say it like that, but co-chairs with lived experience really helps kind of bridge any gaps or differences of opinion. Attention between being clear about the role and remit for family carers, because it's really important that family carers know what they're committing to. So it's important to have that clarity, but also to allow some flexibility for things to progress and the project to evolve in a way that may be unexpected. So although this is a tension, again, it's not necessarily a problem, but I think for researchers to be aware that things can change, things can adapt, and to have some flexibility built into the project plan and the funding. And researchers also need to be prepared to be challenged and for a project to go in a different direction. And this can involve more work from researchers. So if the feedback is, oh, we need to rewrite this or totally reorder this. It takes time, and so make sure that that is in your budget for the research project. It allows the time and the cost to do it well. So I just want to end summing up with one of our family carers tried to capture co-production in research and bring together all our discussions of what co-production in research will look like. It's about empower and respecting family carers by treating them as equal partners and valuing their lived experiences, to ensure clear communication, fair compensation and flexible support to create meaningful co-production that enriches research and drives positive change. If there's anything that you would like to contribute and add or find out more, then please do email me at jo.griffin@warwick.ac.uk, and there's a link to the document there at the Warwick website. And there are just a few references that I have referred to. So thank you very much, and yeah, do get in touch if you want to connect with the work that we're doing. Thank you so much.